Ma'am, kindly share. We can start now.
Yes. So can I start now?
Yes, ma'am. We can start now.
Okay. So a very good afternoon to all the participants who are here today. Uh, Today's session is about a particular teaching strategy for secondary school science, and that strategy is teaching through stories. Now, how many of you have taught science or any topic through stories? If you have taught, just write in the chat box, yes. Write in the chat box, yes, if you have taught any topic in science through any story. So, normally, what happens in a story? In a story, the stories that you have told, uh, have you tried to tell them any value from the story, or you have used the story in any other way? I would have loved to know this, but unfortunately, on this platform, I am unable to speak to you. I can only see the comments that you have written in the chat box. So I see that some of you have written that you have taught through stories. Now, let me share my screen, and then we can see how whether the stories that you have used and the story that I'm talking about, are they similar? Okay, so let me share. No, I don't think it has got shared. There is something wrong. I just shared, but now it's not coming.
Ma'am, your voice is not coming. Hello.
Madam, you are very much audible.
Okay,
Ma'am, please continue.
okay, okay, okay. Now, I'm audible, I guess. Okay. So should I repeat, or was I audible from the beginning? Sir?
Ma'am, you can continue.
All right. Then in the end, whoever's bocce are nearest to the Palino, they all win. So let me show you how this game is to be played. Just look at this game, this video, then you'll understand it better. So just have a look at this video. I hope the video is visible. So this is the boundary, this is the palino, white ball. Now one player is throwing the ball, his bocce is blue. So it goes and stops here. Now another player is going to throw his bocce, and that is the red one, right? So the game is continuing. So now this fellow is throwing another bocce. This is the second ball. It goes and stops here. Now the second player is going to throw. Okay, so the second player has brought it even nearer. So this is the third bocce that is going. Okay, and it stops near. Then the next player, the second player. So who wins? Red or blue? Write in the chat box. Who's winning? The red bocce or the blue bocce? Who won? Yes? Write in the chat box. Okay, the red ones are winning. Wonderful. So you got the hang of the game, right? So the young player is the one, his grandson. But the story is, now that I've told you what is the game bocce, the story begins somewhere else. The story is about two friends. One is Roshan and the other one is Kunal. Now, Roshan is a specially abled child. He is wheelchair bound and he has no movement in his legs or his limbs except his hand. Just the front part of his hand, he is able to hold something like a ball and then release it softly. He cannot throw it anywhere because he doesn't have very much movement in his forearm or in his shoulder. So he is totally wheelchair bound and he remains at home and he studies at home. Kunal is his friend who lives in the next door house. And Kunal goes to school every day. And when he comes back, he comes running to Roshan and tells all that happened in the holidays or in the school to his friend, and they played and learned together. So they're very good friends. So in one summer vacation, Kunal goes to Italy. And when he was in Italy, with his family, he learned to play bocce because bocce is the Italian game, very popular game there. And when he comes back, he brings a set of bocce with him and he tells Rohan about this wonderful game. Now, Roshan. So now Roshan is very sad. Roshan says, even I want to play. But being a specially able child, he is not able to play. So now the this is a story that we are telling in the class, and the class has to now find a way out, and the class has to devise a way by which Roshan can play the game. So the story is this, but then how this story is different. I don't know what is happening today. Yeah. So in the normal story, why we are telling a story in the classroom normally is to engage the children. So this is the first step of any lesson, that we first engage the children. And we have a hook to engage the children. Here, this story was a hook to engage the children. And what is so engaging about a story? A story has a hero, a story has a tragedy, and then the hero finds a solution. And this is the hero who comes out flying because he's able to solve the problem, and he makes everybody come out of the tragedy. So this is the emotional connection in a story which is engaging for everybody. But the story that I told you about Roshan and Kunal, who is the real hero of that story? Can you write in the chat box? Who's going to solve the problem? The hero solves the problem, right? So who solves the problem of Roshan in our story? Roshan has a problem. He wants to play bocce, but he's unable to move his limbs except the hand. So Kunal and Roshan, they have to play bocce. The class has to find the solution. So who is going to be the hero in our story? Who is going to find the solution? No, not Kunal. Kunal is not finding the solution. Who is going to? Yes, the class. Everyone in your class is the hero because it's an open ended problem, and everybody in your class is invited to solve the problem. So your anybody in the class who gives us a valid suggestion is going to be the hero. So this was the first step in the lesson, that the story is used to engage, not only to engage, but give a problem, a real life problem, and children can solve this, right? Now, why this is a very different kind of story? The stories that you might have told must have been the stories where normally we there is a hero tragedy solution and then there is a moral of the story. But in this story, it's not for the moral value that we are telling this story. We are telling this story to create a connection with the class and to give a real life problem in the story, through the story, which the whole class together can solve, right? So then the next step in any lesson is elicit means what do they know about it, what problem solution they're going to come out with would be telling us about their previous knowledge or their existing ideas. So let the children come out with different ideas, and I'm sure you also have your ideas. When I do this training session online on Zoom or face to face, I allow the participants to speak out, and many have got very beautiful, nice ideas. But here, let me tell you that one of the ideas that one class came out with was that they can use a fatta, a plank which can be kept against the wheelchair of Roshan, and then a ball can be kept at the top, and then Roshan can just release the ball. But then whether the ball will go far, whether it will go near the palino, all this has to be decided by some strategy. So what is that strategy? So before the game strategy or the solution is provided to Roshan and Kunal, let us ask the children's ideas as to what they know about this situation. So you can make the children of your classroom into shares, and you know that strategy, pair and share strategy. So two children sit together and they discuss the strategy, and the problem with them is what the boys will have to do to make the bocce go where they want them to go. This is the problem, and which these people in pairs are sharing with them and trying to find the solution. So supposing they come up with this solution of inclined plank, now give them paper sheets and they can write down their ideas, and the best thinking chart or the best ideas can be written on the board also. So they write first the concepts that they are going to use or they are going to explore to find the final solution, and these are the concepts of velocity, momentum, acceleration, forces, inertia. Then they also write down what all they must explore. So the characteristics of the plank, the material of the surfaces, and the ball. So these they are going to study. And then they are telling us what they know. They're saying the steeper the plank, the farther the ball travels. The longer the plank, the farther the ball travels. The rougher the surface, the lesser the distance traveled. So these are their initial ideas. And would you agree with me if I say that these are actually the hypothesis? They are giving their explanation or their predictions or their ideas that if the plank is kept steeper, the ball will travel farther. If the plank is longer, then also the ball will travel farther after getting out of the plank. If the surfaces are rough, that is the surface of the plank, or the surface beyond the plank, that is the ground, or there is a carpet, and then the nature of the ball surface, or if there are rough surfaces, then the distance traveled by the ball will be less. So these are the preconceptions or previous knowledge that they're eliciting. And out of these only come out the hypothesis. So now the idea is to take this hypothesis and turn them into questions so that we can go to the next step of exploration, right? So first we engage them with a story which was a problem, an open-ended problem. Then we elicited their previous knowledge by putting them into pairs and asking them to share their ideas. And then they came out with the hypothesis. Floor. So what are they going to test? They are going to test, does the ball really travel farther on a steeper plank? Does the ball travel farther on a longer plank? Does the distance traveled reduce on a rougher surface? So all these are the ideas that they already had, but the scientific attitude tells us that we should not take things for granted. We should we should verify them. And how we should verify? By experimentally carrying out the investigation. So the children have written the hypothesis, and now they are going to test these hypotheses experimentally. So then they will design the experiment as to how they will test each of these hypotheses. They will think of the material, they will think of the procedure, and then they will think of what is fair test. Now, what is a fair test? Fair test is a test in which the only variable that you are going to change yourself is going to be the independent variable. And then you will see its effect on another variable, which is called dependent variable. So supposing you want the children want to test the first hypothesis. Does the ball travel farther on a steeper plank? So what they're going to do, they are going to take a plank and they will keep it at different angles on the floor against Roshan's chair, let us say. And then the ball which is dropped by Roshan at the top, how far it goes after getting out of the plank on the surface of the floor. They are going to measure that. So supposing they keep it at one particular angle and then allow the ball to roll further and then measure the distance. So the inclination of the plank or the steepness of the plank is the independent variable, and the distance traveled by the ball on the ground is going to be the dependent variable. So by changing the steepness, that is the value of independent variable, the children are going to measure the effect on the distance of traveled by the ball, which is the dependent variable. But supposing once they kept the plank at a particular angle and they dropped the ball from the top and allowed it to travel and they measured the distance. Next, when they kept the plank inclined at another angle, supposing they changed the ball and they changed its size or they changed its texture, then is it a fair test? Because now when the ball goes down from the top and distance is traveled, the distance traveled may be affected also by the change in the nature of the material of the ball or change in its mass. So the effect of on the distance traveled will not only be of the steepness of the plank, but also the effect of the change in the material of the ball will also creep in. So the test will not be a fair test. So before designing the experiment, they will understand the meaning of fair test, how they have to change only one variable at a time and keep other variables constant, and then see the effect on the dependent variable. So this is how one by one they will experimentally check their hypothesis, and then they will collect the data, they will collect the readings. Now, after doing that, after completing the exploration, the next step is going to be explain. They will look at their data, they will arrive at a result, and then they will explain what are the inferences that they are getting from their data. So, as the scientific method says, the inferences must be based on the evidence, and evidence is their data. So they will tell the inferences, and these evidences will be from the analysis of the data. Then they will evaluate. What are they going to evaluate? Evaluate the hypothesis, whether the hypothesis is correct or not correct. The steeper the plank, the farther the ball travels. All right. The longer the plank, the farther the ball travels. This is how they have evaluated their data and evidence and arrived at this conclusion. The rougher the surface, the lesser the distance traveled. So now they have evaluated the result against their hypothesis, but they also have to evaluate against their theory. ऐसा तो नहीं होना चाहिए ना कि जो रिजल्ट आया वो उनकी theoretical concept से मैच नहीं करता हो, उनसे corroborate नहीं करता हो, उसके साथ logically fit नहीं होता हो. So that is another evaluation that they have to do. And then they can further extend the exploration. Supposing the story goes further, that in the summer vacation, one summer, they played the bocce by the solution provided by the class. The friend Kunal tells Roshan about the solution, and together they play bocce with one set of bocce. And the way Roshan tells Kunal to keep the plank, Kunal keeps the plank at that steepness, and Roshan just keeps the ball on the top of the plank and releases it. And the bocce goes, and if it goes near the palino, whoever is, whether Roshan or Kunal, whosoever's bocce goes near to the palino, that person wins. But there is a twist in the story. In the next summer, Roshan's cousin comes and she brings for him a new set of bocce. So earlier they had a red set of bocces, now she brings a yellow one. And now Roshan wants to play with his set. But Kunal feels that the bocce in the new set are heavier, and he feels that Roshan has an advantage. So now this is an extension in the story. Now the children can further explore whether a heavier ball will go further or a lighter ball will go farther. And this is how they can increase the complexity of the project, study, and then give the solution. And this is how the problem was solved for Roshan and Kunal. So now you see, this is a story which, of course, has a message. It has a message that there are social problems, and we have to include everybody in our joys and sorrows and in our efforts. We have to see to it that everybody is included and the society as a whole moves further. But this is not the only purpose of the problem or the story. The purpose of the story was to engage children emotionally in a situation and motivate them to come out with solutions of real life problems. But not just verbal solutions, solutions which they have to explore experimentally by making a hypothesis, making a plan, carrying out the experiment, collecting the data, testing their hypothesis, and extending the project further if there are more complexities in the problem. And this is how the story can become a very powerful instrument for teaching science. So this was one story from physics. Now I take you to another story which is set in biology background. So now this story is also by Richard Konisek Moran. Now, this is actually based on a story by Konisek Moran. Now, I have made it suitable to Indian context. So, there are two cousins, Rani and Rita. Now, Rani lives in Begusarai and Rita lives in Delhi. And Rani really loves going to her cousin's place, and the only time she can go is in summers. So, why she loves going to her cousin Rita's place? Because you see, Rani is about 14 years old and Rita is about 16 years old. And Rani, when she goes to Rita's place, she sees that uh, Rita uses a lot of cosmetics and she does her makeup and all because her parents allow that. But Rani's parents are very conservative. They don't think that Rani's age is suitable for putting makeup and all. So Rani looks forward to visit to Rita, because then she can try out all the new kinds of makeups and the costume jewelry that Rita is wearing and new dresses that she wears. They are about the same size. So they share with each other all this. And then in summers in Delhi, it is so hot that they can hardly go out. So they sit in their room, they chat and, they share. So one day they were sharing like that, and Rani was trying out Rita's jewelry. So suddenly, while looking in the mirror and trying one long earring, suddenly Rani says, Rita, see, your ears are so beautiful. Your earlobes are long. But look at mine. They are connected to my cheeks and they're not long. So I'm showing you the photograph here. You see the first one where my this cursor is, this one, these are the ears that Rani has. And this is the kind of ear that Rita has. So you can see that this earlobe is clearly separated from the cheek and it is hanging nicely. Whereas Rani has this kind of earlobe which is not hanging, it is not separated from the cheek. So she says, when I wear long earrings, they don't look so nice, but on your ears, they look so nice. So, how is it that you have such shape and I have a different shape? Maybe because it's your mother who wears very long earrings, and that's why her earlobes started hanging, and then you got it from her. So then Rita says, no, 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 no. Girls always get their features from their father. I couldn't have got it from my mother. But Rani says, of course, what rubbish. I look like my mother, so I must be, the girls also must be getting their features from the mother. So they're arguing. So then they go to their father and mother who are sitting in the evening together. So they said, they discuss their problem. So father says, why are you fighting? Let us do a family investigation. Call up everybody and tell them to send a photograph of their ears, whether male or female. So they call up all their cousins, they call up all their masis, mamas, chachi, chacha, dada, dadi, everyone, and ask them to send their, these pictures of their ears. And then they make a family tree. And then they investigate whether this kind of earlobe is a hereditary feature in the family or not. So, this is one exploration that even your class can do, listening to the story. So, let each child in the class explore this in his family, extended family, family which is spread out throughout the world or throughout the country. Get to make a family tree and check whether this is a hereditary trait, and if it is, then how it has passed on from generation to generation in their family. And then the story also goes further. Then suddenly, Rita's brother, he's younger, so he comes in the evening and he starts teasing them. You girls, you are so silly, you are concerned with your earrings and earlobes, there's nothing better to do. So and then he, shows his tongue, and he has his tongue rolled like this he can roll his tongue. Rani says, oh, you can roll your tongue like this? I can't roll. And she takes out her tongue, but she's unable to roll, and her tongue is flat like that. So then they realize, oh, maybe this also everybody cannot do. They ask their mama, papa, everybody to roll their tongue. Nobody is able to roll except the brother. Even Rani is not able to roll. So then again they get onto the phone. They write to all their relatives and friends, and they speak to them to try to roll their tongue and then send the pictures. And this also becomes a part of their investigation. So, similar thing your class can also do. And we don't know what happens in the story, whether indeed these two are hereditary traits or not hereditary. We don't know. The story is open for all of us to investigate. So I think the exploration about traits which may be hereditary, which may not be hereditary, you can tell this story in your classroom and see where this exploration takes it. Okay. So this was a story which was set in biology background. Again, you see between this story and the earlier story, what is common is that there is an engaging problem which is contemporary. It is not the story of Raja, Rani, or kings, or queens, or prince, or princesses, nor any animals. It is about you, me, everyday people. It is a real life story, and there is a real problem. There is a problem which can be investigated, through experimentation or survey, right? So similarly, let me tell you another story. Now this story is from real life, the cookie dilemma. Now this happened in my life really. So I have twin sons, Kern and Kunal. When they were in class 7, they wanted me to bake choco cookies for them because they really love them. So one day, what I did was, it was a Sunday, and my husband, both the children, we were all at home. So I said, okay, I'll bake you the cookies. And I took the flour in a bowl, a glass bowl, and then I put some sugar, powder sugar in that. And then I think I put the baking soda, but I am not sure whether I put or not put, because just as I was doing it, the doorbell rang, and I had to go to the door. And then on the door there was a mechanic, and I had to speak to him for about a good 20 minutes. By the time I came back, I had totally forgotten whether I put the baking soda or not. Now if I put more baking soda, it may be too much. If I don't put, I may not have put earlier, and again the cookies will not come out right. So I was very unhappy, and I said, okay, leave it. Now let me do it again. So I put that bowl separately, and in another identical bowl, again I started taking the material, and I made sure that this time I first put the baking soda. I put that, then I put the flour, and then I started putting the sugar, and the phone rang. And when the phone rang, I attended because it was my sister in law and she was telling me something very important, and there was some problem. So by the time I solved the problem and I came back to the kitchen, I found that both the bowls were kept side by side on another platform, and where I was working, a lot of milk and things were lying around. I said, what is this? Then my husband said, what happened? I made tea here. So I said, why did you remove my bowl? So he said, I was making space for myself. I had to toast the bread, so I kept it near the other bowl. Now again, I'm back to the same problem. I don't know which one is the bowl with the baking soda. I got so fed up. I said, I'm not making the cookies anymore. This is ridiculous. I don't want to waste so my whole of my Sunday just doing this only. So I got really irritated and came out of the kitchen. And poor children, they were, looking forward so much to having the cookies. So both of them came and said, Ma, you just give us 20 minutes and we'll solve this problem. We'll tell you which one has baking powder and which one has baking soda and which one doesn't have. You just allow us to use things from the kitchen cupboard. I said, very fine. So just after 15 minutes, they come running. This is the bowl which has baking soda. I don't know what they did. And I said, oh, look, I am not going to make it. Even if it gets spoiled, you are going to be responsible, and I'm not going to make it again. So if you are sure that this is the bowl, I will make the cookies. And I took that bowl, made the cookies. They came out wonderful. And see, who is the hero of this story? My sons, not me. So how did they find the solution? Any guesses? How could they have found out which bowl had the baking soda? If you have an idea, please write in the chat box. How could they have checked that which bowl had the baking soda? Yes, by adding something. I can see, Shrivanti ji, that by adding acid. So what would happen if they add the acid? And from where would they get the acid? What acid would be there? Turmeric test, vinegar. Okay, yes, I had vinegar. Okay, by using lemon. Yes, I also had lemon. No, I did not have eno. So what would have they done with vinegar or the lemon? They would have taken out a spoonful and they would have added vinegar or they would have added lemon. Then what would have happened? Would they have seen some color change or effervescence? Yes, wonderful. So you get the idea, right? So this is a real life story. This is how we can take stories out of our real life, which have open-ended. Anybody can try any solution, but there is experimentation involved. There is a lot of a lot of discussion involved, lot of concepts which they have studied in the theory and they can be utilized, right? Now I'll tell you still one more story from my own personal life. Now these very same children, Kern and Kunal, they were in class 3, I think 3 or 4, and that time their teacher wanted them to see how the seeds germinate. So they had to experiment with bean seeds. So my son Kern said, Ma, let's go to the gardener's shop and from there we will get the manure for our plants, and also we will get the bean seeds for germinating. I said, why we will go to the gardener shop for bean seeds? We'll take it from the store where we get our food from. Food store से bean ले आएंगे हम लोग. Said, no, we want to take the manure also. खाद लानी अपने गमलों के लिए. Let's go there. We went there. हमने खाद खरीदी and then we took a packet of beans, and it was a small this big a packet, and it cost us, I think at that time the person charged us about 80 rupees for that. This was around 35, not 35, 32 years back. Now they are 40, so 32 years back this was it. So we gave 80 rupees and then we took the manure and then we came to the food store. From the food store, when we took beans for eating, because they were very fond of beans. So when we took 1 kg packet, it cost us only about 50 rupees. And this was a 1 kg big packet. Suddenly, I didn't think of it, but suddenly Kunal said, Ma, there on the gardener shop, we got such a small packet for 80 rupees. Here we are getting the same beans for 50 rupees, but 1 kilogram. There is so much more. The gardener shop has cheated us. Let us go back and return. I said, come on, beta, just for 30 rupees, I'm not going to go. Then, Ma, it's not 30 rupees. The 30 rupees is the difference that you paid, but look at the amount of look at the quantity. So you know what to do. अब बच्चे परेशान कर रहे हैं तो जाना ही पड़ेगा. तो all three of us went back to the gardener shop and we said, you take the packet back. You have cheated us. Now that fellow said, once I have sold something, I am not going to take it back. So I said, why have you charged so much? He says, look, my beans are better. He kept on saying, my beans are better. I am not going to take it back. So now we couldn't do anything and we came back. And Kern and Kunal kept telling me, Ma, he's a cheat. Ma, he's a cheat. Kunal kept telling me. After some time, Kern said that gardener kept saying, my seeds are better. My seeds are better. So, Ma, why would he say that his seeds are better? How are the seeds better? I said, yes, that is a point. So, what do you think is a better seed? So then Kunal said a better seed would be one which would germinate very quickly. Then Kunal said, no, a better seed would be one whose plant grows very big and very healthy. And Kunal said, no. I think it is not like that. It is the quick germination. He said, okay, let's reach home and then we'll decide. So as soon as I reached home, the packet by the gardener was a transparent packet in which you could see everything. But the packet which we got from food store was packed. It was a brown colored paper bag. So I wanted to soak the beans for cooking next day. So when I took the beans out, immediately Kunal jumped. Yes, see, these are not full seeds. Some are broken, they are small. But look at the gardener seeds, they are all big and same size. So Kern said, see, this is what I told you. that he kept saying that his seeds are better. Look at the seeds, they are indeed better. The gardener seeds are all big, they are all same size. But the seeds which are coming from the food store, they have variety of sizes. Some of them are even broken. Now see how lovely was this learning. This was a story in real life, and that story we I am telling you here, and then you will be telling in your classroom. So the problem comes out from there only. And the learning did not stop here. Then Kunal said, but I still think that we should not go by the look of the seeds. Let us plant the seeds. So they both brought two gamlas, one in which they had some mitti, in another they had another mitti. So in one, Kunal put the seed from the gardener shop, Kern put the seed from the food store, and then they kept it for a few days, and gardener's seed did not germinate, and the food store seed germinated. So Kunal said, see, I told you, no, gardeners looking good does not mean, looking big does not mean that it will germinate fast. It's not good. Kern said, look, how do you know? Maybe something wrong with that seed. We should not only go by one seed. Let us plant five each. Then they said, oh, but you know, the soil was not same. Kunal said, my soil was very old, but you brought new soil from the garden because in your pot there was no soil. So it was not a fair test. Fair test means everything should be same and only the seed should have been different. So this time what they did, they both brought the soil from the garden. They took five pots each, and in five pots, Kunal put the gardener's seed, and in five pots, Kern put the food store seed. And not only that, they said everything should be same. So let us measure the depth to which we will put the seeds. It must be equal. Not only that, we should put the pots in the shade, equal type of shade, and we should also give the water at the same time. So this is what they did. And you know, in the meantime, one of them read a story somewhere that in Orissa somebody had grown their sunflower plants very big just by talking to the plants every day. So now Karn and Kunal said, we want to talk to our plants. Maybe they will grow. So I said, okay, beta, let's do one thing. Let them first at least come out, let them germinate. And then we will talk to the plants and see whether it has any effect on the plants. First, let us decide which seeds are better, right? So after about I think 5 days, both all the pots had seeds coming out. But yes, the gardener's seeds were coming out better in 3 out of 5 pots, and the food store seeds were coming out faster in 2 pots out of 5. So we did first stage, we did conclude that on average, the faster germination was from the gardener's seed packet. Then we waited for them to grow. And then every day they measured the height of the saplings, and it kept on happening for 1 month. And then they decided that yes, gardener seeds were indeed better. And when they grew up about half foot, then from that day onward, they started talking to their plants, and we had so much of fun, you would not believe. So, you know, these are the kind of stories which have a real life problem. And I think our children fail to do well in life because we are never putting them into situations where they have to solve any problems. We are only always telling them, do this, and this is how you have to do, and this is where check whether your result is this or not. So we are always telling them to conform to our ideas. But if we allow the children only to do what they are told, they will only be followers. They will never be thinkers. They will not be able to create solutions for the society will not be able to go in any new directions. So it is extremely important that we put our children into small challenges, small problems, but let these problems be in form of stories, so that there is a connection and they feel like heroes of the story, right? So, to go further, let me make you think. Let us deliberate on what kind of stories would be suitable for teaching, for this kind of teaching strategy. So, can you write in the chat box one characteristic that a story must have so that it is suitable for our strategy? Write in the chat box what do you think should be that feature which is very important in the story to be suitable for this strategy. Let me see what is your idea, what kind of a story we should choose. What should be the feature of that story? Write in the chat box. Problem solver. That means there should be a problem at least in the story. Yes. Suspense. Okay. Emotion and connectivity. That is right. Understanding, all that should be there, but it should have a problem, not a morale. I will not give very high marks to morale. The morale will be that we should solve the problems for everybody, but the story should be having what? So let us discuss that. So first is, the story should not have too many problems. There should be only one single major concept, and it should be from a topic of interest which is age appropriate, and there should be a problem which can be solved through direct activity. There should be an opportunity for hands-on, minds-on involvement, right? And it should be an open-ended format. Enough information to identify and attack the problem should be available in the story, and it should involve readily available materials, daily life materials. Then there should be opportunities to discuss the story and come up with a plan for finding the answers. It should provide for collaborative learning in the classroom. It should give room for discussion so that children learn to critically think, discuss, think from different perspectives, arrive, make inferences, uh, collect data and analyze the data necessarily, and then they should provide some way to assess current preconceptions. So this is the idea, and why we should do it through stories is because the stories allow us to connect with each other heart to heart. So that is my session today. They give us emotional connection, everyday miracles they are providing for discussion. So this is my session today. These are my contact details, and on my Facebook page and LinkedIn page, I keep putting up information about innovative webinars that I conduct. There is also a WhatsApp group for teachers who would like to attend innovative webinars like this. So if you contact me on this mobile number, I can give you the link directly to join, or it's up to you. You can follow my Facebook page or LinkedIn page. Now, if you have any questions, I would be very happy to answer your questions. Kindly give your questions in the chat box. We still have 10 minutes to discuss the questions or your doubts. So are there any questions? I've kept these 10 minutes for your questions and your queries. Is it possible, just a minute, there was a question. Is it possible to put story for every concept? Look, if we are determined, we can always make a story for every concept, but then I don't think that we would have so much time that for every topic we can allow our children to explore. So maybe we can have, let's say, two topics from each of the three subjects, two physics, two chemistry, two biology. So I think if our children have 6 explorations which involve experimentation, I think we would have solved the purpose of our experimental work, as well as the theory will go in beautifully. We need not do more than 6 sessions in a year. And you would be surprised. I don't know how many of you know that there is a national competition called National Anveshika Experimental Skill Test, which is conducted under the guidance of Professor H.C. Verma. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Professor H.C. Verma. He's a very famous professor of physics, and he's said to be the man who taught physics to India. His physics books are so popular from class 9th, 11th, 10th, and 12th. So, under his guidance, this competition takes place, and it is open to students of class 9 to 12 and 9 to MSc. And there is no fee. In July, this competition takes place online. Every student can enroll for this competition, and first round is a screening round where there are about 10 videos of less than 1 minute each, and then there are multiple choice questions based on those videos. The children are given 1.5 hours time to answer those questions. About 50-60,000 students sit for it. Out of that, about 1,600 or 2,000 students are selected who go to the next round, and this is an experimental round. And in this round, students do experiments at home using the things available at home. Like जैसे वो पूड़ी तलने का झरिया होता है, उसको लेकर, या ग्लास में पानी डाल के, मोबाइल टेलीफोन की टॉर्च से लाइट सोर्स बना के, then only the things which are available at home. Even this plank experiment was there 1 year. So everything is done at home, and especially in last 2 years when the schools were closed, children thoroughly enjoyed these experiments because they were not constrained by lab apparatus. They had full freedom to use whatever was there at home, and they were full-fledged experiments, let me tell you. They did data collection, they plotted the graphs, they came out with conclusions, they reflected, they did mathematical modeling. All the students from 9 to MSc had the same experiments. So you may think that class 9th and 10th students are at a disadvantage, but you would be surprised to know that out of 10 finalists, 4 students belong to class 9th and 10th. So the name of the examination is National Anveshika Experimental Skill Test, NAEST. And if you write to me on my mobile number, I'm giving my mobile number in the chat box. If you write to me, this is my WhatsApp number. If you write to me on my WhatsApp number, I will give you the website where they can register for it once it is out. This is also my email ID. So I hope you will encourage all your students from 9 to 12 to participate in this competition. And not everybody is going to get the prize, but the best thing is that everybody learns. And there is 1 month of discussion on the platform where old videos are shown, old questions are given, children discuss with each other how to solve those questions. So it's a peer learning also. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this session.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Questions? Or I can... I just wait for 2-3 more minutes if there are any questions. Are there any other topics in which you are interested? Especially, you can write in the chat box your suggestions about the topics on which you would like to have any training, any sessions. You can write in the chat box. So I cannot see their videos, sir.
Ma'am, in webinar, the videos are not allowed, only they can chat.
Yes, got it. So if there are no questions, should I leave the session, sir?
Ma'am, we can wait for
Yes,
4
ma'am.
minutes.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay.
Yeah, so there is a suggestion dealing with special abilities or slow learners. Okay. Training of inclusive education. Inclusive ability. Slow learners. Class management. Somebody is saying class management. Class man. I'm sure CBSE trainings must have been there on class management.
Yes, ma'am,
We
and
had
we have also
earlier
conducted
also.
various training in class management.
Yeah, so people are writing here, maybe they've not attended. Organic chemistry, then what else? Training of inclusive education that I've seen. Special abilities and slow learner, right? So nowadays, all over the world, people are talking about teaching science through 7 lenses of cross-cutting concepts. These 7 lenses of cross-cutting concepts may be patterns, cause and effect, systems, energy, and things like that. So every lesson can be taught through these cross-cutting concepts. Maybe I can take one session on that. So, okay, child pedagogy, somebody had written. Any other suggestions? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Training younger students, basic level. What do you mean by basic level, Sonali ji? Do you mean elementary KG, upper KG children?
It's right in chat box.
Yes, she has written in chat box for younger students, basic level. Is it KG, upper KG? Class management for PRT students for teaching history. Teaching history. Well, I can do art in teaching history, art through art integration. Training for power of minds. Power of mind. That is critical thinking in a way. Genetics, Mendel's concept. Teaching history. Is there any assessment form? Lab-based experimental learning. So lab-based experimental learning, you have your set experiments from in ninth and 10th. But yes, how to give an insight And because all the experiments are, very routine, where the answer is known and children don't find it very exciting. So how we can bring excitement to those very lab experiments? Yes, that we can talk about. Regard just doing those lab experiments as such, there is no fun, because all of that you already know. I don't think any training is required for that. But if you want an extra insight into how to bring some interest and make it exciting, yes, that we can discuss. Okay, is there in learning across curriculum? Yes, multidisciplinary learning. Yes, this is a very good suggestion. So maybe I will take it up some time. Learning across curriculum is a good idea. Math session. How science education be more interesting, pragmatic and inclusive for secondary students? So, more interesting, pragmatic, and inclusive. Today's strategy, I'm sure, would help you in doing that. But yes, there are many more strategies that we can discuss. Interdisciplinary approach, yes. Story based strategy. What other strategy can we follow? Yes, there are many strategies. We can have experimental challenges, then we can have demonstration based strategy, we can have inquiry based strategy, we can teach through concept cartoons. There are so many strategies that you may like to, mix and match with your different lessons. We can do this one by one. Interdisciplinary approach, yes, definitely. So I would love to do a session on interdisciplinary approach. Maybe we can do it chapter by chapter of class 9th and 10th. So maybe one time I can take a physics chapter and show how other subjects can be connected to it. Another time I can take a bio chapter and then show the connection, and third time a chemistry chapter. That can be done. Cyber security, no, I'm afraid I'm not a very good technical person in ICT. Okay, so I have noted down all the suggestions. Thank you so much for all these suggestions. So I'll take your leave today. Thank you so much. Wonderful audience, wonderful suggestions. Thank you so much.